object and time-space category collapses, and what remains is awareness. But that still doesn't answer the question, how did all these time, space and objects they came about? So what we had to plug in further information to explain that. Okay? So what we say is that this awareness, which itself is attributeless, how can it produce the universe which has attributes? So we have to introduce one more thing, and that is what we call the potential. Okay? Now that potential must have knowledge and power. Right? Before the manifestation comes, it is what we call in the potential form. So that potential, which is that, it's awareness as though has a potential, and that potential brings into manifestation the whole universe. When the universe becomes manifest, that knowledge and power, which is in a potential form, which is called Maya, is now getting a new name, and that is Ishvara, the cause of the universe. Right? You only can talk about the cause of the universe when there is universe. When there is no universe, you can't talk about the cause of the universe because it is in a potential form. So we make a distinction in semantics. We say Maya and then we say Ishvara. But ultimately it's the same thing. What is it? All knowledge and all power. Now, within that, what is happening is there are individuals, and those individuals don't know the reality that all that is here is awareness with its potential to manifest, and that potential includes knowledge and power, and right now what is manifest is nothing but knowledge and power, which creates the so-called all these forms with series of arrangements which all require knowledge and power. Now, so therefore, so the jiva, the order, anything that you see, you will see knowledge and power. Now, after I said, so now it is what explaining that what was, then how did the universe come about, then what is the nature of the universe, and within the universe, what is there is what all these, what we call jiva, entities who don't know what the reality is. So when we live in this universe, we only see forms. What we miss out on is knowledge and power, which is Ishvara. We also miss out on what? The potential, which is already there, which is Maya. And we also miss out on awareness. So we miss out 3 levels, we only see 1. So we are playing with shadows. So therefore, we never get there. Nothing is like clear. What's happening? We don't get hold of life. Because we have such a partial understanding of what life is or what is out there. So therefore, I loved Saki's question yesterday. It is, on one hand, you can say that it's a chronology. Timur, you summarized really well. Your last point was superb, excellent, very well put. And that is, whatever, see, suppose I tell you this was before the Big Bang, before the creation, there was potential, and then there is all knowledge, and it will only become a belief, right? Because nobody was there to know what was going on before the manifest forms came into being. What makes Vedanta knowledge is the fact that whatever, all 4 are right here, right now. That is the wonder. So what is here is what right now there is this presence because of which the changing body, changing mind, changing universe is known. That is what we call awareness. But right now there are forms. So that form, understand, that form, suppose you take this form, right? Before it came into manifestation, there was a potential. And even now, when the form is already manifesting, it is going to change tomorrow. The existing form is going to change tomorrow. But tomorrow, the way it is going to manifest, there is an order. It's not like you just have to, it's a complete surprise. Today's man will become tomorrow's monkey. That doesn't happen. So that means within the potential, there is a knowledge of what is going to happen. How much are you going to age in one day and how much that age is going to manifest in 10 years from now, it's all within knowledge and power. So in the potential is the knowledge and power, which when it comes into manifestation, right? Constantly that unmanifest comes into manifestation. Yesterday is gone, today has come. Today will go, tomorrow will come. But it all is within knowledge and power. One is in the sense of potentiality and the other one is in the sense of what is manifest now. But both are within knowledge and power. Then what you see now is also a form which thinks that I am only what? This individual and you miss everything else. So the job of Vedanta, see, everything is here and now. But what is happening is our buddhi is only seeing the forms and it is missing out all other three things. So Vedanta's job, as Timur very rightly said, is it is explaining what we see and puts in order what is what. It is job. If you ask me why my eyes are seeing, why my mind is thinking, what kind of a question is that, right? So that means it leads to no answer, right? So what we are explaining is, as I told you, if you finally understand, in fact, if you finally understand Vedanta, what you ultimately understand is that all that is here is one attribute-free awareness, which actually never has undergone a change. But it does have a potential to manifest this Jagat, because of which we see the manifest Jagat. And in order to bring into manifest Jagat, it requires knowledge and power, but none of it sticks to it, which Mridalini kept making very clear. So therefore, if you understand that, then no question of why. Because awareness has never undergone any change in the first place. See, if I have to answer the question why, it means awareness has actually created the universe. But this universe is only what? An appearance. And in reality, there is no creation as such. You see what I mean? So why the question ceases, it is a redundant question. If you really understand what I'm talking about. Okay? So that's why the knowledge has to be, it's explaining what is. That is the job of Vedanta. Yeah, Sanjay.
Please say this again, this bit about the question of why we don't create anything.
Okay, somebody else can try.
I would say,
Okay, please go ahead.
I would just say it's a simple matter of experience that I'm experiencing everything. So, I mean, say, why am I am experiencing, and it's a question of getting to know what my experience is all about. That's my experience.
It's similar. We explained in the way that we are starting with what is, and Vedanta is about what is, and we are starting with Shiva, but you are saying this is our experience, and then it's not the question of why. We can continue and ask, nobody asked why I have to learn 3 years to stand on my own legs, why I have to learn all this 1 year to take a spoon or something like this. We have to learn everything, becoming with no clue about anything.
Yeah.
I understood you also said if you ask why, it would mean that awareness created something. And if you understand there's only awareness, there's no why.
Excellent. Very good. If you really get it, this is what the question ceases to exist. Wonderful. That's a good answer. Very good answer. Andrew.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it's self-evident all the time. We can never not experience what we're experiencing. Everything is self-evident, including this experience now. It's just exactly. It's self-evident. So there's no question of why. Because if I ask why, then even the why itself is an experience.
But the question is what was with regard to the why is the universe here?
Oh, I got the wrong question.
Okay, Stefan, you had something
No,
to
he
say?
said it's everything's self-evident. Only the I is self-evident, right? I mean, because this
Everything
waking
else
world.
is... Go ahead.
I mean, only the when we sleep, the waking world is not self-evident anymore. So it's changing. Only the I is self-evident.
Exactly. There is only one thing in this universe which is self-evident, and that is I am. Nothing else is. Everything else requires perception, perception-based inference. Okay? So that means the why doesn't exist because suppose I ask you, suppose I ask you why awareness is there. Exactly right. That's how it is, right? This is what it is. And in fact, when you say why creation, I'm showing you actually in reality there is no creation. So that means this why, if you really understand the whole, what you're doing is right now you're experiencing. And the data that you get from your senses is highly inadequate. It is very partial. You don't understand what is there and what is the connection of everything with everything.
So this question why is not leading to understanding the true nature.
Exactly.
Just like why, for what,
Exactly. Absolutely.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is here,
Absolutely.
so we have to understand
what
why
is.
it is.
Exactly. And when you understand what is, you actually understand all that is here is one.
And no question why.
Right.
In dream
So
also, you feel that this is very true,
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
But it's a dream, it's not true.
But good, very good. And I'm glad that all of you are engaging and trying to understand, and it's very good. Yeah.
Could you clarify for me again the connection between Ishvara and Maya?
Okay.
At that point when-
Yeah, okay, that's a very good question because I have to come to that. Very good question. Okay. What Susan is asking me is, where do you actually really draw the line between what Ishvara and Maya? That's a very good question. Okay. You will see that the line does become fuzzy. It is interesting. Because see, now you have to explain this time, space, and object universe, which is already manifest, already here, right? So that is what when we say that there is a cause which brought into manifestation what time, space, and object. Okay? So anything that has to come into manifestation, you need what precedes that manifestation is knowledge and power to manifest. Right? So therefore, the knowledge and power has to precede the manifestation. Like the example she gave, ghatasya karta ghataya. Before I come into, bring into manifestation a pot, I must have the knowledge of the pot, and I must also have the power to create that pot so that it comes into manifestation. So therefore, this knowledge and power must precede the manifestation. So now the awareness, what did we say? It is attribute free. she kept saying it because I think her mind is really trying to get it, and it's wonderful, Nandalini. Good, your mind is trying to understand. Okay? So that means this is attribute free. This knowledge and power, when you say it's totally attribute free, knowledge and power is different from? That means there is a potential. Do you see that? Before the manifestation, this knowledge and power is in a potential form. Okay?
What would be the attribute then?
Knowledge and power. Knowledge of the knowledge includes so many. Like in this body, there is organization within organization within organization within organization. Right?
And you can take the analogy, for example, of an artist. Okay. Whatever book or painting he will create and manifest, in fact, is there
In potential form.
in potential form.
Before
right?
the creation.
Before it comes to manifest. It's there. In sleep also same.
Yeah, the dream is there in potential.
Okay.
It's like the seed and the tree?
Yes.
Okay, because see, every example that I will give will have limitation. Why? Because the seed itself is manifest. Here we are talking about before time, space and object. You see what I mean? So every example you can use with reference to tree, you can say seed is unmanifest, but seed itself is manifest. You understand? Here we are talking about time is yet to come, space is yet to come, objects are yet to come. So it's not exactly the same. Do you understand? Yeah? Okay. Now, so this in a potential form, I give a very simple example. My examples are simple. So you can kind of get a little bit of visualization. Suppose, who is the mother here? Yuta is the mother here, right? Yuta, you have a daughter. Yuta. You have a daughter. Okay. At what age did you get your daughter?
Don't ask.
Okay, don't ask. You're into trouble. Okay. Suppose Yuta got a daughter at the age of, let's say, 20. So, okay. So I'm kind of close, right? Okay. Suppose Yuta got a daughter at the age of 20. Yuta was there or not?
Yes.
The potential to be mother was there or not?
Yes.
Then, when she got the child, she got yet another name. What is the name now? Mother. You understand? Because when the child comes into manifestation, then what? She gets yet another name, which is mother. You understand? But it's not that Yuta was not there and the potential was not there. You understand? So that means the potential is there, but when the time, space and object comes into manifestation, this all knowledge and all power gets yet another name. And what is that name? Ishvara, the cause of the universe. You cannot talk about the cause of the universe before what the universe has come about. Like you can't call Yuta mother before the child is born. But it is there as a potential. Do you understand? Yuta, sorry to give your example. Okay, so that means, what it means is, there is a potential, and then this potential is what we call Maya. You can't call it the cause of the universe because the universe is yet to come. Okay? When this comes into manifestation, the same all knowledge and all power is called what? Ishvara. The cause of the universe. Okay? So that means what you can say is when we refer to all knowledge and all power in a potential form, we give it a different name, and when we refer to all knowledge and power with reference to the manifestation, we call it Ishvara. It's then the fuzziness comes because within this manifest universe, there is a constant interplay within of what? Manifest and unmanifest. The moment which is manifest now is going to become unmanifest. And that will give way to another moment which will become manifest. Now, so that means before this moment came into manifestation, it is connected by the potential to manifest is still there. So that means evening is yet to come, but right now the intelligence carries the potential to bring into manifestation what comes in the evening. So that means that is also governed by knowledge and power. It's not like there is some big surprise. You see what I mean? That is contained within knowledge and power. So that means what makes Susan's question very interesting is this, while the universe is manifest, this unmanifest part which is yet to manifest, will you call it Maya or will you call it Ishvara?
Maya.
Maya. So,
Not Maya.
that's why it becomes fuzzy.
Exactly.
Right? So this is why what you can say is within the manifest universe, this ability to manifest, unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest is what we call within Ishvara. Yeah? And this is why what we do is sometimes some Upanishads will explain this also as Ishvara. You understand? Because you can't really distinguish, you see what I mean? Because within here also is manifest and unmanifest. So it gets different expressions. Don't get confused. Some Upanishads will say before the manifestation there was what? Maya. Or it will say Ishvara in its manifest and unmanifest. Because ultimately it is talking about only all knowledge and all power.
But here we have this potential out of the time and space and object. And here we have it inside.
Exactly.
Say it again.
Absolutely. What do you say then? Correct? Correct. Correct.
We have the potential, like two types.
Yes.
One out of time, space and object, and one inside the time, space and object.
Exactly.
So there should be some difference.
That's why there is a difference in terminology. So this is why there is difference in terminology, because what Ekaterina is saying is, here that potential is within time and space, right? Tomorrow is yet to manifest, which is within time and space. Here when we are talking about potential before the entire manifestation, time, space and object came, it's only a potential. You see what I mean? It's not within time and space. Absolutely.
So within time and space is Ishvara, and outside of time and space is Maya.
Because it is the laws are working there, the knowledge is all the things.
Exactly. Wonderful. But because it is both all knowledge and all power, you can also say Ishvara, even suppose, now that brings me into another thing. Okay? So suppose you take a Big Bang theory, right? They will say it's what we call, they have a linear picture of the creation. What it means is that at certain point there was no creation, there was no time, space and object, and at that point what everything came into manifestation. Time, space and object came into manifestation. So that means it is what we call here there was nothing and then everything came into manifestation. For Vedic, what we say is the creation is cyclical in nature. What it means is that there are cycles. This is only, what we refer to Big Bang is only one cycle of creation. So what it means is that this was unmanifest in a potential form before, and before that there was manifest. And then before that there was again potential and then again manifest. So this is what we call cyclical nature of creation. What that is, it is anadi. Anadi means without any beginning. There is no point where you can say creation begins. Ishvara is anadi. Ishvara precedes, Ishvara being the cause, it has to precede the manifestation. And Ishvara as manifestation, potential, is called what? There is a name which is Maya. Okay?
Mind is
Sorry, it's just Sanjini. Yeah?
Just that, you just said that, so why didn't you say awareness is the cause? Why are you saying Ishvara is the cause?
Because as I told you, awareness is totally attribute free. It doesn't undergo any change. We saw yesterday the difference between what Kutastha Nitya and Pravaha Nitya. Kutastha Nitya means there is no change taking place at all. Pravaha Nitya means there is a change from manifest to unmanifest. There is a constant flux. So where is that change taking place? Is it taking place here or is it taking place here? Here. So that's why I have to talk about Ishvara. I don't have to talk about awareness here. I'm explaining what am I doing now is, if this is attribute free, it doesn't undergo any change. The next question is, how does this universe come about? So now the discussion has moved from awareness to explaining how this universe has come about. So now under the discussion is what? Topic of Ishvara. You understand? So Ishvara itself, what you understand is, it is what? The relationship between what we call all knowledge and all power is what? And Sat Chit Ananda is what? Satya Mithya relationship. But now what we are doing is zooming in on this and understanding what the nature of how this universe comes about. Do you understand? Okay.
So I wanted to say that in regard to creation, time and space are just concepts within the created universe.
Okay.
And we're trying to figure it out with our brain, which is also limited. What was before creation when there was no concept in time and space, and we're trying to frame it in this time and space concept, which is kind of hard to do with the brain.
Exactly. See, that means before, the point is that any effect, suppose you see that any effect has to come from a cause. So that means if this effect, which is time, space and object manifestation, if it is coming, what could be the cause? It's something that science cannot explain because the observation cannot reach there. You see what I mean? This is why you need to use pramana, which makes sense of this which is otherwise unanswerable. You understand?
We have one awareness, but could it be many manifestations? Differences, like
within the manifestation there are so many differences, right?
So there could be one and one.
Yeah. So this is exactly. So what we say is suppose there is exactly. So this is why that day Sajali was asking Pravaha Nityatvam, which is what it is. Surviving time, but it is something which is in a flux. What all does it refer to? This is what we call Kutastha Nityatvam. What is Kutastha Nityatvam? That which survives time, but it doesn't undergo change. This all knowledge and all power is not within time and space. This is very important because many people, they always say this, which is not accurate, right? What they say is, oh Ishvara, you mean to say is some energy. Energy exists within time and space. So please don't try to be very creative and use words which actually limit what is being said. Everything which is being said has a very, very specific meaning. It has to, you can't interchange things because by doing that, you will create one thing, you will create a completely wrong understanding of it. Okay? So that means, Sorry?
one small speak about the cyclical nature
Yeah,
of
I will.
with regard to these two Nityam.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Wonderful. Yeah, I will. Okay, so this Kutastha Nityatvam, what does it mean? It doesn't undergo any change at all. This potential, does it have to undergo change or not?
Yes.
Constantly, right? So that means this is what we call Pravaha Nityatvam. What it means is that potential has to manifest. In order for an unmanifest to become manifest, does it have to change or not?
Yes.
Yes, it is a flux, right? Now, within the manifest universe, which is nothing but what? Knowledge and power of Ishvara manifesting as time, space and objects, we saw the entire thing is collapsing into only nothing but it's knowledge and power which makes every form what it is, as Mridalini was saying, that itself is under flux or not?
Yes.
Yes, this is also under flux. But when the universe suppose the universe again collapses, all the scientists say that it has come into manifestation, that it will collapse. Where will it go? Back into potential. Do you see that? So that means even Ishvara, please don't think that Ishvara, when the time, space and object goes away, Ishvara will totally go away. It will go to potential. This is exactly. It will go to potential. So therefore, Ishvara is Anadi also. There is no beginning.
Does the qualification Pramaha Nityatvam also apply to Ishvara?
Exactly. Yeah. So now, one thing, because when Sajili was asking that question, I said, okay, these two can refer to Pravaha Nityatvam. Nityatvam means that which survives time, but at the same time it's in a constant flux. Both Maya, because that is also, it's the same. Right? Ishvara and Maya is the same. All knowledge and all power. They both survive what? Knowledge and power survives the time, space and object manifestation. Now, what about Jiva? Jiva, the individual. Is it Nitya? Tricky. Is it Nitya or not?
Structure.
Body and mind.
Yeah.
Body and mind is not Nitya, right?
But
Body and mind is what? Limited, right? And it is going to, is it without time? No, it is fixed in time. But the status of Jiva, which is what? What is the status of Jiva? Jiva is the ignorance which doesn't know its true nature. And because it doesn't know its true nature, becomes as though an individual. That is part of which Shakti of Ishvara? Veiling Shakti, Avarana Shakti. When did this Avarana Shakti begin?
When it is ignorant.
In Ishvara. It was there in Maya. Do you understand? Yeah. Avarana Shakti is not, it's in Maya. So therefore, Avarana Shakti is also what? Anadi. Jiva is Anadi. The status of Jiva is Anadi. That means this ignorance, you can't also give it time that it began. If you give it a time that it began, you will get into logical problems. Why? Because you can say, before it began, what was there? It has to be the opposite of ignorance, knowledge. So if knowledge was there, how did ignorance begin? So, because within what? Ignorance with reference to an individual is part of Avarana Shakti of Maya. Therefore, ignorance is also Anadi. Jiva is also Anadi. Now, all of this is Anadi and Ananta. Anadi and Ananta means it is without any beginning and without any end. Why? Because it will come, this knowledge and power will come into manifestation, create time, space, object, universe. It will go into potential. Again it will create universe. Again it will go into potential. There is no beginning, there is no end. That is what we mean by cyclical nature of creation. So therefore, this cannot stop. Manifestations after manifestations and resolution. So we call pralaya and then jagat. Now, please, but just let me finish that because it's very important. Suppose you can say that jiva is anadi because it is part of the avarana shakti, right? This veiling capacity of Ishvara veils the knowledge for each object or each form that is there in the universe about the nature of reality. So therefore, when will it, the jiva, which is anadi, because the jiva, the limited individual, the cause of that is what? Ignorance, right? It is caught in the cycle of ignorance. It will keep becoming unmanifest and it will come into manifestation again and again with every cycle of creation. When will it end?
When ignorance is removed.
Never.
No.
When avarana will go.
When it
When
comes
avarana
into
will go.
nature. The only way for this jiva's journey to come to an end is when it understands, it removes the ignorance and it sees all that is here is awareness, which has, and this is who I am, and it has never undergone any change. So only thing which is anadi but not anantam is jiva. Because the ignorance can be removed. The cycles of creation which is Ishvara is anadi and anantam. But jiva is anadi but not anantam. When you remove the ignorance, it will what? The journey will end. And that is what we are trying to do. You understand? There is no other way to put a stop to this jiva other than knowing its true nature, which is awareness, which has never undergone any change, which is the truth of the entire truth. It's not some small little awareness hanging out there. It's the truth of the entire thing.
If we're talking with jiva as individuals,
Yeah.
at a universal level, the jiva will always exist, right?
No, because what happens is that we will see a little bit later. What will happen to this? So any karma that you have, just for now, any karma that you have accumulated in your life journeys over lifetimes, they will all disintegrate because now you know that I am not a performer of karma in the first place. I have never performed any karma. So all the karmas that individual had in their account, they will all disintegrate when the person understands this reality.
How does the Kuttastha Nityam fit into this?
This is the final reality. It doesn't get engaged in anything. And this is awareness. Itself has no action, it has no nothing, without which none of the subsequent realities can exist. And where is it available? In your buddhi as self-evident type. This awareness that I'm talking about, from which is Maya, from which is Ishvara, from which is what? This individual. Where is it available to you? In your buddhi as self-evident type. Now, what is the problem? It is getting mixed up with body. So what is this doing, this knowledge? It is removing the ignorance. It is making you see your true nature and also explains where this body came from. The entire story it explains.
See, when ignorance is removed and knowledge of awareness is gained by the jiva, it becomes
So does that mean it becomes free of the life and birth cycle?
Yeah, absolutely. This is called moksha. This is called moksha. So what it means is, right now, bring it to mind. What did I talk about Sopadikatyasa? In this lifetime, there is an empirical reality about your connection with one body and mind. So even if you remove the ignorance, what will happen? That connection remains. Until this body drops, that connection remains. But after the body drops, there is no more cause, no more karma, which is karma and all I will talk about a little bit later. There is no more cause for this body, this status of jiva to continue. Because of karma, you take new forms, you take new forms, you get new forms. The karma only belongs to an individual. A person performs an action and the person is responsible for the result. So that means there is an individuality. That individuality itself goes when you know that this is your true nature. So anything that that individual did while the person was individual, that in one shot goes away. It's like the simple example. Whatever you did in the dream, suppose you stole something in the dream, then the police came in the dream, the police interrogated you, you went to the jail, the entire thing is happening within the dream. Suppose you wake up, the entire thing is in one shot gone. Same thing. Your identity has changed once and for all from the individual to awareness. But not just imaginary, your imagination. This is the truth. And the entire thing is in your mind, as clear as crystal clear, which requires Ishvara to lift your veil. You can listen to pramana and you can engage in pramana. Ultimately, you need grace of Ishvara.
So it's clear that after understanding the jiva disappears in awareness because it exists only because of this ignorance.
Exactly.
But for example, let's say Anne understands and she no longer has the concept, of her jiva disappear, but what about my jiva?
Yeah, that's still will. So each one has to, see, that's why you have to bring in mind. Remember what we said, where does the ignorance manifest? In the mind. So each mind has to solve that ignorance. Suppose you solve it, doesn't mean that I solve it, because minds are different.
So that's why I said that maybe jiva survives. I mean, even as the universal level, it won't go away.
Yeah, exactly, because there are millions and millions and millions. So that means only your individuality. We are only talking about one individual. We are not talking about everyone.
So the new age idea of raising collective consciousness is a waste of time.
It's an absolute waste of time. See, so many of this new age, Susan, speak loudly, everybody wants to hear.
So then the new age idea of raising collective consciousness is a waste of time.
Yeah. Exactly. See, I can teach you and I can kind of help you to kind of see a certain reality, right? So suppose I'm teaching, how many people benefit from that? They do remove certain ignorance, but that collective is impossible. You see what I mean? This is why we also don't have this whole big responsibility. Please also understand. So a lot of people say, oh, but you know, even after you get this, why can't you just keep coming back and for the benefit of humanity? This is a very common question.
When I want to ask.
Even you want to ask, okay, just one second. Let me first answer and then you ask questions, okay? So now, one minute. Okay. I have very enthusiastic students, okay? Just give me some 5 minutes to talk. Okay, so we don't have this problem of taking on the burden of the whole universe. Why don't we have it?
Because it's Ishvara.
Excellent. It is Ishvara.
It's Ishvara.
It is within all knowledge and all power. You don't need to carry the burden of what? Educating. Why connected to one body and mind, you do your job. We have this amazing tradition called Guru Shishya Parampara. What it means is, whatever you understand, you pass it on to the other person. The other person then, in turn, passes it on to other person. You don't need to keep coming back to what? Save the humanity. That's not your job. Right? So even if you come to save the humanity at any given point in time, how many people are going to be interested in Vedanta? Tell me. In the total population, how many? Not even 1%. What saving are you talking about? Right? So that means that, see, Einstein doesn't have to come back and show you E is equal to mc squared. A normal prof in a good university is good enough. Right? So that means, don't take on this whole thinking that you are some great human being who's coming to save the world. Hey, you do your part within the order of which is blank. It's not like because Ishvara said you don't do your part, but there is an internal, within Ishvara's arrangement, there is a mechanism to carry forward the knowledge. Now, 1 second, before you, there were a lot of hands raised. Wait, I have 4. You had some question?
Ma'am, now I understood. For me, what is awareness, what is Ishvara,
yes.
What is Maya,
yes.
What is Jiva, and how to remove avara. All these things now I feel I understand. So what is that difference between me and the one which is called as realized soul?
Okay, wonderful. So that means now you think you understand, and pretty much maybe you understand a lot of things that I'm saying, but whether everything is absolutely clear or not, right? And whether the mind has grown, with all these evening class that I talk about, all these Ishvara, your emotional maturity, yourself, all this, when it is completely complete, what happens is that there is no question. Suppose I ask you, hey, do you see this bottle or not? Do you have to think, do I see this bottle or not? No. It's crystal clear, right? So the very fact that you ask, how do I know whether I understand or not, it means you don't understand. Why? Because if you really understood, the question itself will cease to exist. It's there when I understand. There is no pretense about it, no forcing, no trying. It is just there in your buddhi, as clear as daylight. That question of how do I know whether I understand or not itself ceases to exist. You see what I mean? What you see is what you see. And all the relationships are absolutely clear. And when people ask you questions, you are not, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. It's not like that. Okay? Sorry.
If you say there is no cause anymore, do you exactly mean there's no potential anymore?
No, this too remains. Please understand. Ishvara is anadi, without any beginning, and it is ananta. It has no end. This is anadi and ananta.
So it's just like the awareness.
And these cycles of manifestations, they are also anadi and ananta. They are without any beginning and they continue to happen in cyclical nature. But this jiva, which is due to the status is due to ignorance, this is anadi because it is connected to the avarana shakti of Maya. Right? But it does come to an end. Why does it come to an end? Because that whole understanding is wrong. So when you remove this ignorance, you see that your awareness, the status of jiva comes to an end. Because that jiva, the individual, understands that I am cannot be put in any form. It is belonging to here, the awareness. So the cause which is ignorance goes away in case of jiva. The other causes remain. Is it clear?
So there is always the relationship between awareness and Ishvara. Yes, so it's like nitya satya relationships. It's always like this. So but awareness could be without Ishvara.
Yeah, awareness, the thing is, before you talk about potential, you have to talk about entity which has potential, right? Potential belongs to something. So that means that what awareness, but the potential is not an intrinsic nature of this awareness. Somebody else.
So, something I don't understand. You said that the potential, you always have constant flux, change.
Yeah.
How can you have change without time? You mean, to talk about change, you need
so as I
to have a reference point.
I showed you, from potential it has to become manifest, which implies change. Right? And within manifest creation itself, there is a constant change. So from potential, it is becoming what? Manifest.
So at the level of potential, there is no change.
There is, because it is now becoming manifest. One second, that's Sajini.
More than a question, I think
Yes.
it was just this whole, when you were speaking of jiva and the potential of the collapse and the whole context of relative restlessness took a different meaning. You know, if you hear the jiva and then go back and then, just the whole journey.
Yeah.
And the relative restlessness.
The magnitude.
It just took a different context.
Excellent.
So the flutter was so much that I hit my hand.
Yeah, wonderful. What she's saying is exactly that the confusion that we are talking about, the non-understanding that we are talking about, we think that it is only this lifetime, but when I put it in this context of putting your ignorance within what? The anadi cycle of Ishvara, the magnitude of that ignorance, we have lived lifetimes after lifetimes within cycles of creation within this ignorance. So what she's saying is the magnitude of what is meant by ignorance is increased. And this is why, Sajali, if this is how we have lived so far in one lifetime, to expect that you will listen to Vedanta and every mess will be totally sorted immediately, is it a realistic expectation? No. You see what I mean? There are knots within knots within knots within knots within knots. We are untying all these knots, and that takes time. But the thing is, you never know when your journey had started. Maybe it started 20 lifetimes ago. Who knows? Nobody knows where they are, because nobody knows the past. So that means that maybe you have been untying these knots for the longest time, and in this lifetime you will get it. Of course, it's a possibility. Why? Because this is how it is. This is the truth. This is what is. You see what I mean? So neither you can be over simplistic about getting it, nor you can be, oh, this is not for me, this is impossible. You see what I mean?
Ma'am, difference between Jiva and Ishvara is Jiva has habit of getting covered.
See, this is it a habit? It is within Maya Shakti. See, nobody by habit keeps getting covered, right? So we come with ignorance. The ignorance is. Why ignorance is? Because awareness is which I don't see. Ishvara is, I don't see. And the potential is, I don't see. That is what we call ignorance. It's not habit. We are born, the Avarana Shakti of Ishvara makes each form not know this reality, and it is given the key to know the reality. You see what I mean? So you have to use the right key and reflect in order to know the reality. It's not habit. You see what I mean? It's not the habit which creates ignorance. Ignorance actually leads to habitual thinking which is wrong. You see what I mean? You have to put the causality in its right place. You see what I mean? But maybe what you mean is, suppose you listen to Vedanta and suppose in the classroom you think you understand, when you go out there, what will happen is the habit will take over. That's what maybe you mean, right? So that means the knowledge that you have gained, which seems very clear, is not with you when things are. So that means that you are still ruled, and that's why you need contemplation. Contemplation means through changing situations of life, you have to not forget the vision. Forget the vision, but that doesn't mean superficially don't forget the vision. So if there is a problem in front of you, you don't keep telling, I'm awareness, I'm awareness, I'm awareness. That is not considered wisdom. Because it is like what? Mentally repeating something like a parrot, right? Because this awareness is equally here, through everything. So at this level of engagement, it requires what? Understanding Ishvara, understanding what needs to be done by me. It requires understanding dharma. It requires another level of understanding. Do you understand? But when you focus there, you don't forget here. When you talk about here, you don't forget that. That means entire vision and its levels are absolutely clear. There are no mix-ups. That is what we call that mind has totally captured. There is no partiality about that knowledge anymore. Do you understand? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, Shona had a question.
No, I just wanted to confirm, did I hear correctly when you said that the Vedic Avamuk Shakti is Anadi, but it's not Ananta?
Yes.
Because when you realize, then that is it. But the manifestation is Anadi and Ananta.
Excellent. Correct. Absolutely correct. Yes. Yes. Yuta.
Does it mean that without Amana, it's not possible to get moksha?
Absolutely. So I mean, the whole thing that we spent the first 2 days is to show you that your senses are designed in a way that you only can engage in the objects. There is no way for you to figure out what your true nature is. So you necessarily need pramana, even though Atma is self-revealing. Why it is not, it cannot reveal itself more than what it is already revealing. Right? But what creates this mistake is the confusion, which is what taking eyes to be this, and that confusion is never going to go away until you use the key, the pramana.
I ask because in other cultures there are people known or titled as reached at the final end, and
see, we don't know who are which. I mean, yes, we can know that the idea of awareness, oneness is there in many cultures, that is true. But we don't know what exactly. See, I'm not in a position to make any statement about people that I don't know, whether they understood or not. You see what I mean? You can't talk in the air about people who you yourself don't know who these people are, and without knowing what they understood. There is an idea of awareness or oneness, but whether it is just some idea that exists without proper understanding, like even Susan will say, the idea of oneness also exists in Neo-Vedanta, but can you then call it total understanding? You see? So please distinguish the idea from knowledge. Many people can have ideas, but the knowledge is another ballgame altogether. So maybe, I don't know, I'm not qualified to talk about the people who I don't know. I can't get into their mind and to know whether they know it or not, right? So I don't know how much they know, how much they don't know. So I know one person. So it's interesting, right? So he's a good friend of ours, and it is a true story, right? So he is quite a successful executive. He lives in Paris. So he says, I belong to this very exclusive, successful people who are talking about oneness, right? So now he says but the condition, so now they are inviting me to join the group. So now what is the condition of joining the group? Is it, you can only talk about oneness just like that in terms of theory, but in order to experience that oneness, you have to take some drugs. So the precondition of joining that very exclusive group is what? Drugs. So that you experientially understand oneness. So now he is asking me, should I join this group?
Officially induced oneness.
Exactly. So you can say, yeah, the idea of oneness is there, but what they understand by oneness and how to get there is so different from what I'm talking about. So that's why I'm saying the existing idea of oneness is not enough to make comment about whether they actually know it or not. So we have to be very careful, and it's anyway of no significance whether others know it or not. It's not a question whether I know it or not is really the question, right? And about others you never know. Even sitting in this class, after all these methodologies, suppose two people say, I get it, you don't know. Right? The only person about whom you know for sure is yourself. And because, why do you? Because the questions and doubts cease to exist because it's so clear. And suppose you reach an artificial equilibrium. What is an artificial equilibrium? You think you understand, right? Which is not really what it is. Ishvara will not let you stay in this artificial equilibrium for too long. This is a fact. Situations will arise, things will happen, and all your bubbles will burst.
We know one sees it in the airplane.
So this is why, this is what I said, that basic discomfort, this is how Ishvara takes you to this knowledge. Until things are absolute, you will have to make so much effort to convince yourself, I get it, if you haven't got it. And you will have to make such a show about it to everybody else, I got it, when you haven't got it. When you got it, you got it. What? No big deal. I mean, no big deal, big deal, because you understand something big, but you are only thankful. There is nothing but gratitude that there exists a knowledge which makes you see something which you cannot imagine to see in your lifetime.
We should not imagine.
Exactly. And also that you can grow to such an extent that you never imagined. I really think, and sometimes I imagine, I met him when I was 22 years old. How was I? Like a completely lost teenager, right? I mean, nothing. I had nothing about me which was grounding me. Even though I had done cool things. I had gone to the US and I had studied and I had worked with the UN and I was an economist and everything was going well for me. But still, if I think about who I was with reference to myself, nothing. And I can't imagine that within the period of 30 years one could grow so much. So that means once you come to this knowledge, and if you begin to really reflect on it without all these frills and just try to see what is being said. Use pramana. Pramana is there in front of you, use it. Use it wisely. And where you can go is just, you need your effort, and you, of course, as a result of your effort and prayers, there is Ishvara's grace, which takes you to quantum level jumps. Quantum jumps. So therefore, this is what the knowledge is about. It's 10:30. I will stop it. Is this idea of Shirin that Brahma Nityatvam is clear? Yes. Yeah? And the cycles of creation?